So let's get to it, y'all. The number one way to change your mind, to change your life, if you've never heard that phrase, it's a great one. Because if you change your mind, you can change your life, because your mind is causing resistance, and then we don't do things when we feel resistant, period. And let's just talk about the different ways that resistance shows up, so you can understand how resistance feels and how we think and why we don't take action to do things. And so why it's important to change our mind to change our life. Because if we don't change the mind, the resistance shows up as fear. It shows up as uncomfortable, unsafe, all the things the ego likes to say, oh, danger, don't go that way. It's crazy because it could be the best freaking thing for us in our lives, but because of this resistance, we can't go for it. So if we could change our mind about the things that are causing the resistance would melt away, and then we could just flow with ease. And that's what it is, y'all. So let's get to how we gaslight ourselves, how we sabotage ourselves, how we move the goalpost, how we're not accountable to ourselves in our head, in our mindsets, so we can focus on the one mindset shift that will have the biggest impact to start changing our lives, and then we can work on the others, right? So let's get to it. So what do I mean by let's get to the main one? The main one is always going to be something along the lines of once I. So you got to start catching the lingo. So once I lose weight, I will start being more social and go out and date and find a boyfriend. Or once I add this new skill to my resume, I will go look for a new job. Even sometimes it's once I update my resume, I'll go look for a new job. Once I save up enough money, I'll leave this bad marriage. You know, we could go on and on and on and on and on. There is so much gaslighting and self-sabotage in our own head. And what that does then is, if you're saying that, let's find the best example here. So what is it that everybody wants to do to move forward in their lives? I mean, I work as a coach, and I would say the number one thing, number two would be career. So we did talk a little about, but we know number one is relationships. We all want to be in love with the love of our lives. We want our soulmate, right? And so soulmates are really hard because soulmates reflect all of our resistance to us. And so we're going to feel automatically uncomfortable with our soulmate. So then we tend to go with our trauma bonds. Okay. And I don't want to make this video about that. But so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at, okay, now that she said, okay, when we meet our real soulmate, we have so many resistances. Why? And so in this scenario, we could do one simple thing to trick our mind into stop resisting what a soulmate reflects to us. And what do you think that one mind trick would be? Here it is. That mind trick would be, so let's just rewind a little bit. In the case study for this video, we're going to use, I want to find the love of my life. Okay. And then you automatically, whether you're conscious or unconscious or not, if you say that, you're going to have a belief behind it that's resistant. Because if you're not with your soulmate in the love of your life, that's because of this that we're trying to uncover. Always. And so with the soulmate, you'd have to catch. And so for me, I would be like, okay, I'm going to go out there and start being social so I can find my soulmate, my soul tribe, and find my soulmate and start doing conscious, soul work with somebody that I can fall in love with. I'm past the trauma bonding, right? And so I get it. And so I can feel the resistance, and then I can go into the thought. And what's the thought? I got to work on the way I look. Every time. I've had this since I was a little kid, so I'm sure a lot of you can understand. We're not very good when it comes to our looks. So anyway, I will say to myself, I'm going to go out there and be more. So I'm going to go to this thing this weekend. There's going to be a lot of people there. Maybe I'll meet some new people. And then the next thought is, yeah, no, you're going to have to wait until next event because you gained 10 pounds over Christmas. None of your clothes fit you right. This is what I say to myself. And it doesn't matter. We gaslight ourselves, which means I'll move the goalpost every single time. So let's just say I lose that 10 pounds, which I have. My weight goes, I'm always 12 to 18. 12, 14, 16, 18 is the highest, 12 is the lowest. Not a huge span, but come on now, people. When I'm at the 12, I still don't go out there and be social. You see? You feel me? I'm gaslighting myself into an excuse not to go out there. So how and why? Because the resistance. So now it's time that we have this example for you to understand that the resistance is a feeling. It's not rooted in truth. The resistance makes you feel uncomfortable, unsafe to go out there and be forward facing in front of people. And then you can say to yourself, well, in the past experiences, when I felt ick and I went out there, it was just an icky situation. And it's true. Because if you're feeling icky inside, you pass the icky on to others. Did you ever walk in a room and it was full of tension? Well, if you walk in a room and you're uncomfortable in your own skin, then everybody's going to look at you like, ew. So I really just wanted to point that out because that's why we got to get rid of this resistance. So we're not walking into social situations to find our tribe and crushing and going small and being like, no, can't do it. And it's all just a mindset shift. So you got to work on the mindsets first. Everything's an internal job. It's all an inside job. So now that we have my example and you heard my self-sabotage and my gaslighting, what do I do with that to start shifting it so that when I go out, I'm not resistant? And this is the key. The only thing you can do is to start catching it and shifting it. And this is why self-awareness is every part. I don't care where you are in your journey. When you start getting to the nitty-gritty of wanting to change your life, you're going to have to be 100% self-aware. And so the self-awareness in my example that I'm using for myself and what I've been through and what I do, like I told you since I was a kid, is to obviously catch myself saying, I'm going to go out there and be social once I lose weight and I can fit my clothes again. And so then I have to sit with that and say, oh, there it is. And you sit with it and you start seeing something that accepts that you think that way, but also puts a little bit of a new spin on it to start to break down the resistance. And this goes against everything you've ever been taught before. So please be with me here. I will say to myself, once I lose weight and I can fit my clothes again, I'll go. So maybe next time I'm invited out. And in that moment, I have to say, are you kidding me? You are fine. You are no different than everybody else. We're all working on something. Now, if you can't do it today, don't make that excuse, though. And so what I'm doing is I'm starting to just reverse the path. My brain, my neuroplasticity is being changed. Epigenetics. I am not going to have that same pathway in my brain telling myself, trigger, 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 come home miserable. See, I shouldn't have went. It's going to be, I finally rewrote it where I'm walking out and I'm like, everybody's all in the same boat. We're all self-conscious. We're all this, just so I don't have that crushing resistance. And then people will reflect the beauty back to me. Okay, so let's make another example, because relationships and our self-sabotage when it relates to our self-consciousness is really hard. So let's go to the money one and the career one. So let's just say that you want to start a side gig. You want to have, by the way, retirement is a made-up thing. It is. We made it up. I think it was made up in, maybe after the Great Depression, somewhere around there. I don't know the dates, but it's just a very current cultural thing, because in the old days, the elders got taken care of by the younger generations. We worked until we died because we did what we loved. It was never like that. We didn't work ourselves to death. You know what I'm saying? And so this whole retirement thing that people are doing, trust me, I live in an area of the country where there's the condos I live in, there's almost 70, 80-year-olds like dominate this area, and they are bored out of their freaking minds. And because they were so indoctrinated into the retirement belief that once they retired, they could just sit back and kick back. Well, that's not going to be my life. And that's the point I'm making. I want to have passive income. I want to create things where I have, maybe I'm writing books, maybe it's e-guides, maybe it's astrology reports. I mean, I can be 90 writing an astrology report because I'm going to make sure I don't have a lot of metal in my brain, but that's another topic. But what I'm saying is that when you want to plan for the future as it relates to your career, let's just say you say to yourself, I want, and that's why I made the whole tangent about retirement. We all should be focused on passive income for our future. Social Security, we're fighting and crying about Social Security. I do not want to make this political. Take back your power. We're talking about peanuts on Social Security for most people, $1,000, $2,000 a month. Come on now. Passive income you can get, but we have indoctrinated beliefs, and that's what we're going to talk about right here, because this is one that we all have to work on. Just even to understand that the cultural belief of retirement, and people retire and they're freaking miserable. They have nothing to do, and then they work anyways. There's no retirement. So become self-employed. So here goes this resistance to self-employment, to passive income, to anything related to getting out of that cultural 9-to-5 belief, or 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7 factory work, right? All right, so here's the example. Once I have my credit score right, I am going to start this side business. Once I have more free time, I'm going to start this side business. Once I have this extra $1,000, I'm going to start this side business. Once my kids are all in school, I'm going to start this side business. Here it is. The problem with doing these things, these beliefs that you're making in your head, is that you're creating an energy pattern of resistance. And so even when those things happen, let's say all those things I just mentioned were done. Credit score is great. You got 10 grand in the bank. Your kids are all in school, but the resistance is still there. You're not starting it. And so that's what I mean by moving the goalposts, because then you're going to say, well, now I'm making good money here. Maybe I'll just retire here. I don't even need this side business, or whatever it is, because what I'm really trying to get everybody to understand with this video is we create resistance by the pathways that we're creating in our mind, and then we just change the belief to match the emotions. So when you're going to start, let's say you just sat down with your notebook, let's write this business plan. The resistance is going to be so bad because of those energetic pathways that you've created of resistance, because you don't realize when you're doing these self-sabotage, gaslighty, wait till later, once I fix this thing, you're creating, I can't do it. The universe doesn't speak in your language. The universe speaks in energy. I can't do it. So now you have created this thing, this big, huge resistant wall that you'll never be able to. It's almost better if you just never even tried a side hustle. And then when you realize, hey, I should try a side hustle, and you just did it, that would be better. And that's actually what happens. That's why these younger generations of people, they can just be self-employed and they can just go through spiritual awakenings, and they're just like, woo, because they didn't get these rigid mental, emotional patterns of habit, of resistance in them. Okay, I think you guys are getting it. I really do. So how do we stop that in this case scenario, just so we can really understand what we can start doing to chip down the resistance to living our best lives? And you can take the biggest resistance you have in the world and focus on that one, and then all the other ones kind of just tumble away because you're changing your energy pattern. Okay, so let's get to what we can do in our head with this example. Okay, so you catch yourself, you're like, oh man, I'm just going to come home every night and spend at least 30 minutes on this new side hustle. And you feel it. You feel it. It always, for me, it's always like right here in my solar plexus, like, and then it kind of gives me this like, I don't know, like an anxious, yeah, I guess solar plexus is anxious, like this anxious anxiety feeling is for when it comes to money, that's my resistance feeling. When it comes to love, it's sadness, of course. Or not only sadness, but what's that when you don't like the way that you look and feel insecure? Yeah, that's another one that comes up for me when it relates to love. But when with this one, what you can start to do is when you say, I'm going to come home and I'm going to do this for 30 minutes, don't try to do it. Working through resistance sucks ass, y'all. It just does. It's horrible. You know, we listen to people say, just go with the flow. And it's like, nothing's flowing for me. And that's because of this right here. We got to work on the mind stuff and the energy patterns. So the habit is that we get this soul crushing thing, and then we can recognize that we have these beliefs, right? And so I don't want us to fight against the beliefs. I don't want us to say, I'm going to come home for 30 minutes every night. And then you hear yourself say, well, I don't really have 30 minutes. And then you try to say, I have 30 minutes. That is what gets us into duality. Because then you further repress the shadow stuff. And then consciously, you're like trying to tell yourself, I get this light bulb moment. And then unconsciously, it's like making it worse. There's more polarization, causes the resistance to be worse. So how do we get in the middle where we're just feeling good and we start to flow? We start accepting it. Oh, I hear you, thought. You just told me an excuse. You know, I have 6 kids. I'm like, I'm done with your excuses. So maybe you have to confront yourself, but don't try to change it. Just like a loving, kind parent. Oh, I see you making excuses. How about we don't do anything right now, but address our excuses? I accept that I am afraid. That would be the only thing you should do for a while. Catch the thought, I accept that I'm afraid, or some acceptance statement. I accept that I'm making an excuse. I accept that I'm putting it off till later. I accept that there's resistance. And you just keep doing that over and over again, because acceptance is the bridge from those lower fears of resistance. It's like this middle place to get you in joy, peace, love, because joy, peace, love is when things flow. So you have to do acceptance. Step 1 is acceptance. But see, so we're bringing out the shadow. We're accepting that we're saying these self-sabotage things, and we're chipping away at the resistance through the acceptance. And then before you know it, when you say, I'm going to work on my side hustle for 30 minutes every day, and you feel into yourself, and it's just no resistance anymore. And then you say, okay, 5 o'clock every day when I get home, instead of just going to the TV till I make dinner, I'm going to go and do 30 minutes of this. And then you start doing the external things. So you're creating the new mental, emotional habit first, instead of trying to fight against your old mental, emotional patterns. And then once you kind of get those to a state of acceptance, which is much more flowy, then you can start to create the external pattern. It's an inside job first, and then the external is easier. Yeah, don't even get me started on people trying to go to the gym. There's so much resistance in this. Just hang it up, y'all. You're going to have to create a new pattern. But, you know, that's not necessarily true. But I'm making a joke. I try to help you understand what you feed a lot of resistance to. Now, it has an energy pattern that's like a brick wall. And so trying to do something from that brick wall being in front of you is crazy. So we got to work on accepting and pulling up more of the self-sabotage, gaslighty type things that we're saying that's creating the energetic resistance, and start accepting it until it starts to melt away one by one. We cannot want the whole enchilada when it comes to our psyche. Got to start real small. For me, I recognized my health was a big issue. I was getting in my 50s, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to climb mountains with my kids in the freaking Utah and, you know, the Mayan ruins and all that if I'm falling apart. And so for me, it was really even just about taking the supplements 3 times a day and doing, you know, and so at first I had to start doing the resistance. Then I started creating the habits. Guess what? I take my supplements every day, 3 times a day, like clockwork. And I couldn't do that my whole life. Nope. but I knew it was important and I did it. So now I move on to the next one. So I'm making that point so you can understand that it could be very small things at first. But I'm so freaking proud of myself, y'all. I'm not a structured person. I have a Capricorn 4th house north node. That shows you I am not structured if you know anything about astrology. So even just that small piece was hard. So find the one. Work on that. Get past the resistance. Start a new habit and pattern of energy, and then just reward yourself from that and then move on to another one. But don't try to do the whole enchilada all at once, especially externally. You're just causing yourself more problems. Okay, so I hope that helps, guys, because quite honestly, watching us do this hamster wheel of self-sabotage, it's hard to watch in myself, and it's hard to listen to other people. And so I just wanted to come out today and tell you, you can do this. Just stop trying to do it all at once and stop trying to do it externally and get on this inward self-awareness, rewriting your mental, emotional habits and patterns. And I promise you, life gets really good. All right, so that's it for now. If you liked the video, please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, take care.